Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, the one major breakthrough that we've had in last year and going into this year with has been the really discovery of what radionic energy really is. We are not looking for it. We are not trying to find it or test anything. We know exactly what produces radionic energies and what radionic energy is now. And it's never been properly defined in the past, and we've been able to define it. That's why, we're in a position right now where we're not really researching to find something. We're researching applications and amplifications of these energies. Just as I mentioned in a recent audio, the fact that, our problems in life have been solved. And we continue to give billions of dollars to people to look for and research answers to our problems. Well, this is just ridiculous. This is the ultimate con that nobody seems to get. As I mentioned in my previous audio, we have cures for everything. They're called stem cells. They're called vitamin C intravenous treatments. And there is a slew of treatments that we have that have been around for over 100 years that work and work well. But we're ignoring them. Why? They're unsafe. So dying people have to worry about if something is unsafe. So they should die on proven ineffective treatments because they're safely proven to be ineffective. Huh? So the whole idea is these are the kind of nonsense we have when everybody should be on intravenous vitamin C drips. They should be getting stem cells. There should be light therapy, and you could go from one to the other. This will cure all disease without question. So we have that and many others, and we can let the fools fodder in the background, wasting billions seeking things that have already been discovered. I hope everybody understands that. Just as we have free energy, the entire world can use now, yesterday, 100 years ago. That's right. Free energy is here for everybody. It's called hydrogen. We can convert any internal combustion engine to hydrogen power instantly for pennies. It's done. We don't need 0 point, the fantasy energies perpetrated by a bunch of trained SEAL traders who basically are mostly working for Satanists. It's just appalling. Who cares about all these goofball engines and this free energy and all the other things? Who cares? We don't need that. What's the purpose of that when we have hydrogen right now? So everything has been solved. All we have to do is apply these things correctly and stop spending trillions and billions of dollars in research when we don't have to. Now, it's the same issue has come here with the elusive, to a degree, radionics. But, only I've discovered this as usual. Radionic organizations for years have been floundering around trying to figure out radionics when they really don't talk about that much at all. And this is one of the problems with the Psychotronic Association and even the Radionic Association in England. What is radionics? Have they really defined it? Well, not really. And they don't know what they're doing. They don't have any technologies, explanations, how to make a machine. It's all boils down to the same old kind of nonsense. They're really confused, and it's not confusing. We know exactly what radionics is. We know how to use these energies, and we know how to amplify them, transmit them to get physical effects. This, of course, has to be refined, but we're not seeking to figure out, well, what is this, dear? I don't get it. Well, that's not what we're looking at. The bottom line is we know exactly. Just like we have cures for everything, and we have free energy. So it's about time everybody gets this in their head. When someone says something that we need to look for a cure, or this is good, or we need this kind of energy, you need to shoot back at them and say, we have it. Why aren't we applying it? Well, it's corruption. 110% corruption. It goes past the numbers. It's so bad. So the whole idea is that's the reality we're living in. So you need to change your thinking from we have to seek and spend billions and trillions. Seek and billion trillion what? It's all been done. It's all there, and they're refusing. The medical mafia, the criminal governments are refusing to implement technologies that are working, have been proved to work, that save lives and could save this entire planet. People are suffering today because of high energy costs all over the world, by the way. Some don't have any energy at all. Well, this could be cut to zero. Just think if you took all that money you spent on gasoline, on electrical power, and you bought things with it, fixed your house with it, bought goods and services, how the entire planet would boom. Yet, everyone allows a corrupt, evil, scumbucket, feces-ridden garbage to tell us what to do. It's disgusting. And until this kind of corruption, until we understand that we do not have to seek and we force those who are in power to follow proven technologies, we are doomed. And plain and simple, I don't see anything ever changing. I've been studying history most of my life and recently quite a bit. Everything is the same, people. Nothing has changed one iota. And it never will. You're in a prison here. This is a Gnostic hell, and it is your game to beat the system and get out. And boy, is it a tough game. Now, when we get into radionics, which is one of the major understandings of how the universe works, informational energetic fields. That's what everything is. That's what's out there. Now, regular scientists, these bozo physicists who believe in Jesus, can't get it. They don't figure it out. It's unbelievable, yet they really do in a lot of ways, because when they start talking about things, they talk about fields. And, light used to be a particle. Now it's a wave. Well, what do you mean a wave? It's an energy field. They claim there's some sort of substance to it. But the whole idea is, what does substance mean? And who cares? So they're stuck in this fact that there has to be something crudely measurable instead of getting into energy, which can be measured if they took the time to do it. Just like you can measure neutrinos and tachyons and everything else. Is it easy? Oh, no, it's not. It's not easy, little physicists. You want 10 more billion to build some sort of stupid machine that bangs things into each other? Ooh, that makes sense, physicists. I mean, we're going down the sewer path to destruction. These closed-minded, buffoonish slobs are dragging this entire society into destruction, while everything around us dies when it doesn't have to. So getting back to radionics, informational energetic fields is how everything is made. The Big Bang wasn't a bang. This is garbage, of course. It's an imagination of comic book thinking physicists who have absolutely no idea where did the stuff in the Big Bang come from? It's a chicken and egg thing. Who made God? If God controls everything, who made God? Well, the point is the universe creates informational energetic fields. These fields are energy deep. Everything is in them. They're pure energy, and then information enters them where they start creating physical matter. Could be a planet, could be a star, etc. And that's how you get physical matter. And we do this all the time in our real lives when we start using our energy to create things. This is why visualization and so many other things you concentrate on work. This is proven, people. The only people that don't believe this are really the ignorant buffoons giving us technologies that don't work. Engineering that is garbage. Science that fails. That's what you're getting. And the human race needs to rise up and demand that we follow proven technologies and put them to work now. Now, radionics, as I said, what you do with a radionic machine, and you do need help of a machine. Now, these machines don't do the work for you. The machines can't be automatically dialed. You have to be in the process because you are connected to the universal manifesting energies of these informational energetic fields. Machines can't do that and connect to it. Machines are pretty primitive. All artificial intelligence, which there really is no such thing, is pretty damn primitive. It is non-selective and it just does a job without thinking or care. Of course, we kind of like that. because we are too stupid to empower ourselves and to think that we have value. So we want to give it over to a machine because we're such low-life individuals, after all. Isn't that what religion teaches you? We're all sinners. Maybe you're a sinner, but I certainly am not. This kind of nonsense that is perpetrated out there is a crippling of the most ingenious species that there ever was. But unfortunately, the human race is the most corrupt. In the universe, the human race is known as the most corrupt and dangerous. But don't think other races are all that great. They ain't. So the whole idea is that all of these things we have to look at. But we're not trying to discover what this energy is. We're not trying to figure out the rates of things. We can get rates on anything that will work. It's been proven. All of this has been proven for many, many years. It just hasn't been refined. So the whole idea is to start refining them. There's been great people out there doing work and getting excellent results with all these things. But you're working with the ultimate energy of the universe. Don't think you're going to figure it out and master it within a couple of years. But we have to get there. Many people have done this. Delaware came up with rate books. Gravani, the Russian mathematician, came up with rates. And people praise these, and it works for them all the time. What we have to do is take this to the next level. People also can't get caught up thinking they can become great technicians by getting their own machines and tuning them. This is a skilled profession. Not everybody can be a surgeon or a doctor. Can you have some of that knowledge? Yeah. And you probably should to survive, to make sure whoever went to school for that, you can figure out whether they know what they're doing. But we can't sit back and say, well, I can do this. This is the other failure of the industry. Because they want to sell people machines. But it's really not a machine, it's the software. So in the past times, Ruth Drown, Delaware, etc., they weren't selling people machines to get their own rates. They were selling them a machine, and then they were giving them the rates to tune in, where they would then put themselves on the machine. It was not designed for you to get your own rates. It takes a huge amount of skill to properly tune. You have to have a great level of sensitivity. You have to spend years training yourself. You know, it takes 10 years to become a sushi chef. To cut fish. So this is something that requires years and years of practice and sensitivity, and quite frankly, most people don't want to do it. While we sell lots of instant type technologies, nobody wants to train themselves. They don't want to get the training tools, they don't want to get the visualization tools, they don't want to take the psi tools. These things sell very little, which means you're not honing your abilities. And then you want to come back and say, well, it didn't work. Well, no, you didn't make it work because you don't have the sensitivity to do this. Now, everybody who gets to a high skill range, becomes a master or at least a good technician, has to spend years training themselves. And I mean years. Tiger Woods started out at 5 years old learning golf. And everybody who plays golf or does any sport spends hours and hours every day honing their skill. Even Tiger Woods today, it's not unusual golfers to hit balls, 6-7 hours a day. Olympic athletes work out on 6 days a week. Anybody who's doing anything that they have to perfect or become a master at is spending huge amounts of time in it. But no, you want to get a machine, you want to get a book, you want to tune it in, you're done. And then you want to create amazing things, huge amounts of wealth. You want to win the lotto. I get this all the time. And if I could win the lotto, this would be, that's what it would be. You'd hear nothing here. It would be a dial tone. Of course, it doesn't fit in this kind of recording, but the point is there wouldn't be anything. And anybody who has those kind of abilities is never going to share it because it would be dangerous to their life, their family, etc. If you had that ability, you would be kidnapped and murdered. Or you would be held, at least, as a stooge of those who who want that money. So you need to understand, that's the laws of this reality. There's not a single wealth-generating industry that isn't owned and operated by organized crime. Because that's where the money is. They're not going to build the business, but they're going to go in there and take it over. Smart, especially when everybody else is so corrupt. So we have to understand this as people trying to achieve high levels of things. There's lots of great technology that Radionic Tech offers. Amazing technologies, by the way, that you can achieve super high levels of success based in your reality, but you're going to be limited to your reality as well. So, where does $1 million come from? You want to make $1 million? Where does it come from? You're going to find it in the backseat of your car? You're going to get a raise? Well, we're giving you a raise today, Mr. Thor. You're going to be making $1 million more a year. Well, this doesn't happen. So what most people do, and the only way to get that kind of sum of money is basically through gambling or some sort of stock market investments. So when we get into the stock market, well, yes, it can be manipulated through all sorts of ways, but it's difficult and it's hard to figure out, and it's not a free market. People control the stock market. The lotto is another thing. We spent many years researching gambling, and of course, that's a complete con, lottos. The odds are so much against you, it's near impossible, and it's so random, and, yeah, you guessed it, very corrupt. So these are the type of things you run into, but you're trying to increase your life, and you have to increase your life and figure these things out as well. Well, what can you do to get what you want out of life, whether that's money or other things? People don't understand the stock markets. They don't understand things. But, you have to take care of your subtle energies that surround you to keep a strong physical reality, which is based in the informational energetic fields around you, the non-physical fields that form the structures around you. Now, non-physical fields are also what creates success, wealth, luck, charisma. Why are some people more successful than others? Well, first of all, people, and you don't probably want to believe this, but this entire world is rigged. People are chosen to be successful. Authors, businessmen, etc. They are particularly chosen and pushed ahead because they are working with corrupt organizations, whether they are criminal or whether they are governmental. The amount of people working who are undercover agents who are pushed to success is staggering. Walt Disney was an informant for the FBI. Was he successful because of that? Well, a lot of people are. A lot of people get their books published that are authors and everything else. They're all part of the informant industry that is pandemic and everywhere. So a lot of very successful people, and I look at their histories and I say, I don't get it. They got nothing special. Why did their stuff soar? Why did they get that? Well, the bottom line is that they are pushed ahead. So this is another success problem. And we can look at all these people who are successful, the richest people in the world. All of them are made men, as they say. Now, that's a terminology used in criminality, but, they do all work with organized crime. Every single one of all the major corporations, etc. Corporations allegedly doing that, Walmart, Costco. Well, they were proven to be paying off, and I think they still are in Mexico, all the gangs. The gangs went into these stores and threatened everybody. You think it's any different in the United States? You're a fool if you think so. So there's all sorts of things happening of why certain people are more successful than others and how all that works. It's a complicated issue. But you can have lots of success in your own life. You can push yourself. I've done this all my life, coming from nothing, that I was able to constantly have one success after another. And because I was on the wrong side of the fence, my successes are always muted, or I would be probably a billionaire today. The projects I got in, that I empowered, all made money and lots of it. And still do. Because they're empowered. Even overcoming horrible family problems, mentally ill parents, having zero money, all this stuff, and working with a bunch of goombas that did absolutely nothing. People that drag you down right into recent years where partners tried to steal things from me and actually did and push them out just in time. Criminals that were come to this organization and claim they don't need money, yet they do need money. Of course, they need my money. So the whole idea is all these things happen in life. So it's a very complicated life. But let's get back to the main subject here, but life is very confusing. The point is you need to surround yourself with any energy that you want. You want to draw someone to you. You want wealth. You want to win more often. You can't really make yourself win the lottery, but you can make yourself luckier. And I proved this over and over again. Every time I empower myself, instead of winning a couple of times a month, I win 3-4 times a month. Unfortunately, it's not substantial amounts of money. But that could be worked on, but that's a full-time job. We've been trying to do this for years with our gambling team within the organization, and it's very difficult. But again, if you work with bozos that have no background, that are not really interested in working, you've got problems, and now all these people have been eliminated. Bottom line is that I have to do everything myself with minor employees and not people that claim that it would be good to have a partnership, because they're lost. All that has stopped, and of course we're moving ahead. We're now flying ahead with our technologies. I know exactly what it is. I know how to make machines, and we have to move away from this conflicting understanding of radionics as well. Now, there's a conflicting because these radionic machines look like electronic machines. You plug them in. Well, that means electricity is going through them, right? No. As famously done by Bruce Copen, who makes some very beautiful machines, none of his machines have electricity going through them, except the ones now that they're slapping his name on, which are computerized ones, which are worthless, by the way. But he never made computerized ones. And you don't put electricity through dials and other things. You're not broadcasting energy. These are not Hertzian electromagnetic based fields. Now that's another type. Now, do electromagnetic fields, which generally are called Rife equipment, you put a frequency out there, and he found frequencies that would break up cancers and other diseases. And you put that within the body. Now that's a frequency instrument that is a Hertzian fields. Now, Hertzian is a term used for electrical energy. And there are frequencies to that. And I believe that's how many times it vibrates a second or whatever. It's unimportant because it doesn't mean anything to you or to me. But that is a different way. Tesla coils put out there. So these are all electrical frequencies. It is not radionics. Now, what you can do with that, I don't know. I believe that non-Hertzian frequencies, which are generally radionics, and what is considered psychic power, and which has been proven to a large extent by the research, and we're trying to figure out if by William Bankston, who did hands-on healing, psychic healing. This seems to work extremely well. Now, he's researched it for 30 years without using any machines that I'm aware of, and still doesn't use them today, apparently. So there's a big difference between Hertzian frequencies, measurable electric fields, and radionic energy. Now, radionic machines never had, and still don't to this day, have electricity going through the actual dials. I've owned almost all the instruments ever produced since 1900 and have looked at them. Copeland, Delaware, Lord Industries, you name it, and they have a tuning energy. A tuning dials, I should say, and no electricity goes to them. Do they have on and off switches? Yeah. Copeland, I'll never forget my first Copeland instrument. I got it and said, well, it's interesting. Let's take a look at it. Let's open this puppy up. And then I want to say, well, what's going through this? And this was a single dial unit on top of it. It was very inexpensive at that time. I had a little cash. And it was nothing more than one dial with a plate and a wire that went to the one dial, and that was it. So you're working on pure psychic energy. Now, it did plug in. Where did the wire go to? It went to the light and nowhere else. And now all his instruments have done that, and so has all the other ones that have little lights on them. Radionics and lights is what they call it, an idiot light, to let you know the unit is on. Now, you don't think something works unless you click it on and the light comes on. So it's a psychological effect, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We need psychological effects, and I try and do as many exciting psychic things as I can to get the energy going. Now, this has even stopped in recent years with many of the units being made in lower cost units being made in England. They don't even bother to put lights on them anymore. They have an on and off switch, and that's it. You click the switch on to on, you're now working. So what does that mean? So Abrams didn't have electric units. As a matter of fact, when they took his units apart, which are filled with gunk, they had nothing but surplus crap in it. And it would have been interesting to figure out. He made sure that nobody could look in those instruments and figure them out. I'm not sure exactly why he did that, but he was trying to build a hospital and he wanted to make a lot of money, apparently, even though he was very wealthy. So these are the things we have to think about. So what is radionic energy? Well, they're informational energetic fields. They're not information fields alone. Yes, they carry information, but they have to be energetic, and that's where you come in, because you have to do something. If they're not energetic, information just sits there. It's like having a book. Well, here's all the knowledge that's in this book. I don't get it. Well, you haven't opened the book and read it. That's what energetic is about. So this is very, very important information that everyone. So it is not just me. It's not just my conclusion. But I've been looking at this. Nobody puts electricity through any of their dials. There become certain aspects of how then do you take these informational energetic fields, grab them, empower them, and make them stronger. And there's been a few interesting little breakthroughs which are hard to figure out how well they work or not, but it has nothing to do with that. But in terms of that, if you're going to pick up these strange informational fields, well, the only way you can really pick up these strange informational energetic fields, because they're so dense of information, is through the use of lasers. Now, lasers, and you have to use the right frequency, that's where colors and other things come in, that can pick up these massive fields of information and transfer them. So there's lots of little things you have to do, but we're not looking for this energy. We're not trying to figure out radionics. I know exactly what it is. I'm now trying to capture these fields, amplify them, and empower them for the particular individual, situation, populace, whatever. I mean, theoretically, you could broadcast radionic information to an entire town. People have done this to fields. But here again, have we solved problems? Well, yes, we have. This kind of technology has been used for many years to kill insects, which is a real problem now. We need lots of food because the population is growing, yet we have serious insect problems. What do we do about it? Well, we have ways to do it that cost nothing to do. Now, we're not searching for this. We're trying to perfect it. We know exactly what has to be done and how to do it. On the other hand, the big problem is that I'm the only person who really has the level of understanding after basically 53 years of research since I was a child into all these things. And I've been researching radionics now for over, maybe close to 40 years now, at least 30 years, trying to figure it all out. Well, that is no longer what we need to figure. I've looked at all the machines, I know what they do, and we just have to now come up with potent technology, potent machines to grab and transfer this energy. And this requires a very high level of skill, and it requires a lot of time and research. Now, research isn't that expensive unless you want to actually pay these physicists their $200,000 a year they want to guess. Because they're not engineers, they're guessers, they're theoretical physicists. So they surmise what's going on. They come up with theoretical understandings of things which may or may not work. Now, that's perfectly fine, and that's okay for a thinker, but ultimately it has to get down to the engineering stage, and that's where we're at. Engineers are not scientists. They have to make things work. It doesn't matter what the scientists tell you. You have to make something work. If you build a bridge and it falls down, well, you got a problem there. You can't get away with that. Now, theoretical physicists can't. Oh, that just didn't work. Well, you're not going to do that as in engineering. Engineering is figuring out how to get something to work, making things work, and then proof of the pudding is, does it work or not? Now, engineering is a very low level today in most areas. We are moving ahead in so many different areas, but we still build an awful lot of garbage. But it's complicated because quality items tend to cost to a degree. But, good engineering will cut costs. They'll figure out how to do things at a lower cost using lower cost materials to achieve the same thing that a higher price material will do. That's part of engineering, and it's not a part of science. That's another thing people need to understand. So we're in the engineering stage of this. I know exactly what has to be done. It takes full time to do these things. It's not something I can do while checking on your order, or well, how come this takes so long? I mean, we have custom products that take a long time to make. They're specially made, but everybody wants everything tomorrow. And of course, then you hear people, where is it? I want me checking packages, and of course a certain percentage of packages. Well, this is a real efficient way of spending my very skilled time. So that's why things have to change, and we want to thank all those supporters who are, those Patreon supporters, which we are building up slowly, and hopefully we'll get to a point where I can spend all. And believe me, the breakthroughs that we make, the technologies that we produce, will of course first go through all of the supporters. You are the people who are supporting that research, and you will be the ones that benefit from it. So this is very important. This is how the world works. But nothing is done easily. So I'm really the only expert in radionic technologies out there. There's a few other skilled people, but I don't think they have skill past their certain machines. They produce certain machines, and they're very skillful at it, and that's it. But what if they come from that? Well, again, it's a tricky world out there. We're not really sure what any of these things can do, but they certainly haven't looked at all the machines properly. They haven't gone through everything. All that goes with it. They don't have a vast understanding. I have a very eclectic teaching. I've studied everything from yoga to voodoo and understand all of the subtle energies involved with that. I don't think anybody else has had that. Most people don't. I don't like magic. I don't like machines. So, they're not very varied. People are like this. People are very stuck in their ways. They eat the same stuff, they drink the same stuff every single day from beginning to end, and are not very interested in looking at the rest of the world. I look at everything. And I'm very eclectic. And synergistic. Synergistic is very important. Well, if I find somebody who's got an energy disc over here, well, I'll include that in my. Is this a great design? Is this a great little. Well, we'll add that onto an already pre-existing effective machine, make it work better. And this is, of course, what I've done for years. So they've already done 10, 20 years of research on their particular energy disc or whatever it may be. Well, let's add that in. But do they have anything? Is that energy disc, that tachyon, any good? Nope. It's all pretty mediocre, what you get from everybody. But if you add that mediocre, which is still an interesting researched area of energetic information, and you add that into other technologies, you have this synergistic empowerment where the accumulation of many goes into the whole to create an awesome tool. So let's make sure we understand that, and let's stop using terminologies and thinking that way. And I was trapped in this a lot. Well, we don't have to figure it out. We know what it is. We're refining it. There aren't looking for cures. I hear this all the time. We got to give money to who? Because they were to the Cancer and the Heart Association, because they refused to use vitamin C intravenously, which has cured countless people for pennies. Oh, well, we need something fancy and expensive that nobody can afford, and I'm going to, I got to make sure I have my fancy little house and my fancy little cars, and I can go to fancy dinners and travel around the world. You got to give me money to research something we don't need. What? That's what you're being told. We got to look for other energies. Well, we have hydrogen and solar. Do we really need anything else? No. But there is other ones, and we're using multiple types of energies. Geothermic energy works very efficiently. You dig a hole in the ground. Yeah. That's difficult, isn't it? You take energy from the sun. We could do this everywhere. Very, very easy to do. It's proven. It's effective. It works great. But we don't need any of that stuff. Hydrogen is dirt cheap, and we can convert any engine to it. We want to throw in that extra stuff. Well, we can, but basically it's very expensive compared to just getting a little hydrogen generator that could power your entire house, your car, airplanes, you name it. All these other things are very expensive. Of course, we have wind power, which is pretty inefficient and kind of crappy, but it's still there. But God, is that ugly. We need those, and they're noisy as well, but they are free energy. Solar power isn't. And is there any place we can't put solar power? Well, apparently can, because all you need is to have the typical weather in Washington state to generate plenty of solar power, which is pretty cloudy, by the way, and rains a lot. So Seattle is a perfect place to put solar panels. Well, that's right. So all of those things can be put everywhere, but you're still going into batteries and everything else when you can basically do things very simply with hydrogen. But we have even these other things if you want to play the stupid game. So we have to have all this pollution, we have to spend all this money, we have to get involved with wars to protect rich corporations so that they can sell you their garbage and support hostile societies who want to destroy the world by giving them trillions of dollars in petrodollars. There's a lot of uses for oil, and that is making medicines, plastics, etc., which we need. We shouldn't be burning it. What a waste of a precious commodity. So it's all there. So everybody needs to get out of that. And the same thing goes with alternative energies here in terms of alternative science and radionics. I know exactly what this energy is. I know how to use it. And now it's a fact of making it to a kick-ass level so that we can take informational energetic fields and construct anything we want out of them, similar to a replicator in Star Trek. And, which makes it even kind of more fun, is we can also take those informational energy fields and rip them apart, which means we can take any matter and make it disappear. So these are all the fun things that are out there. This is on the horizon. This is not seeking whether it's real or what type of energy it is, or none of that. It's perfecting the technology to achieve this, just like with healing and just like with energy. So I wish everybody would get on that team and understand that and stop thinking that we have to question things. How is this? And the other thing I'd like to bring up, which is a pet peeve of mine, is I'm sick and tired of looking back. We don't need to look at the ancient peoples, the Mayans, the Egyptians, for any answers whatsoever. Those are shrouded in mystery, and whatever we do know is never released to us. There are tunnels under all of Egypt that are massive. Some say there are cities that's so big underneath there, and they have been seen and witnessed by many. So all of this stuff is steeped in corruption. We don't need to know that. We don't need to know what they did in medieval times. We don't need to go over these documents. We're going to learn very little. We've got to a point where we have all this information. Let's stop looking back. It's not in the dirt we're going to find the answers. It's in the stars. It's about time we start looking up and looking to what we have discovered recently and start moving away from all this wasted money into old nonsense. And this stuff about saving old monuments and stuff. Well, I believe in that. They should be turned into amusement parks. The pyramids should be ran by Disney. People should go there. They should be preserved, and people should enjoy them for what they are. There should be a restaurant on the top of that giant pyramid where you can sit up there in the nighttime and drink cocktails and look at the view. This stuff about keeping everybody at arm's length and something sacred about them is complete nonsense. There's nothing sacred about dead bodies. We need to move ahead, and we need to take things that are interesting and marvelous and become one with them. Just as was done in the 20s, where people used to go to their local graveyards and have picnics and stuff to commune with their relatives. We need to change the way that we think. What is a better place than to the loved ones that were murdered by scientists? Why not commune there? Why not think of those you love the past? No, but we're going to do everything by the perverted evil that has been pushed upon us and putting us in, well, we don't know anything. We don't have alternative energy. Your family, your child, your pets have to die in horrible pain because we just don't know. Well, it's about time we stop that. It's about time we started understanding of what's here and what's now and what can be developed and supporting those people doing it. That's what we need to do. And the sooner we start this, the better, and that means now. So All of those who really want to support my mission and what's going on, remember we have a new Patreon account. So you go up to the upper right here, click on the Patreon account, and do join. You can join for a few dollars or add a little bit more there. Everything helps. We have to get up to a point where I can support myself and do the research instead of chasing UPS. Until that happens, nothing will happen, because you're not going to get it out of your scientists. You're not going to get it out of these doofus, knuckle-dragging physicists and all these other corrupt people in the society. It's going to have to come from an individual who then gets it out. And maybe that's only out to a few people, and maybe those people carry it on and bring it to another level at some other time. But it has to go to the next level. We are there. It's about perfection, not about discovery. And that goes with most things in life. So support this organization. Go to Patreon. Join for what you can afford. And let's get this on the road while we still have enough time to save this crunched up screwball world we live in. Until next time.